Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning, a fantastic podcast by two volunteer fire chiefs that give nonsensical advice, absolutely terrible recommendations, and the most incomprehensible set of plans that anyone's ever conceived to try and present and follow. So good luck, Godspeed, and hold on.
We're recording?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, pre-flight checklist. We've got our spit cup, water, drink in a can,
Shaken, not stirred.
and it sounds like a podcast for It Tastes Like Burning.
That's what we've got.
I'm Matt.
I'm Jesse.
Thanks for listening in today. We've got a different one for you. We were sitting down kind of talking about how we were going to do this today. And our discussion kind of came around and started to focus on some of the wild animal calls that we've had before. So we're going to have an entire podcast about critters and all the fantastic benefits of having to deal with animals on scene.
Yeah, it's glorious. It's more than just herding cats.
Yeah, or rescuing cats. In fact, our list is pretty extensive after we sat down and wrote it for about 3 seconds. This podcast probably can end up being a little bit on the longer side and probably a little on the weirder side too. First thing we've got up there is a cat in a tree. I hope to God everyone's got to deal with a cat in a tree. That's one of my personal favorites. Jesse, you ever had to deal with a cat in a tree?
At least 12,000 times, and they get so mad when you tell them, never seen a cat skeleton in a tree. The people just don't have a sense of humor about that stuff, and I think that's just terrible and wrong.
I think our last cat in a tree call that I know I had, and somehow or another, I always get the cat in a tree. Yeah. It always, I'm the one that gets stuck with it. So it's a good opportunity for us to pull our ladder truck, get 70 other people out there, 400 apparatus, and make a colossal show of this. In this particular case, we had one estranged kitten that was approximately 390 feet in the air in the world's tallest oak tree. And our resident tourist in this case, fantastic Australian couple, wanted us to go get mittens.
Yeah, a feral mittens too, by the way. This was not somebody's pet cat. This was a feral kitten.
And it may have only
touching
weighed
the sun. Yeah.
And it may have only weighed 6 ounces, but I assure you this thing was a direct descendant of a saber-toothed tiger. You could just tell the second we even pulled up near it that the sheer rage and hate radiating off of this fur ball was going to be exciting.
Yeah. So we interesting deal, and the approach of some of that stuff is how you approach it can determine how glorious or how lame the call is going to be. This one turned out pretty lame. I was there. I drove the $1.5 million piece of equipment to go get Fluffy out of the tree, but this one turned out pretty lame because we took a different approach. What did we do?
Well, it was. I'm a big believer in these murder mittens, that they have a pretty solid set of instincts that's installed in them. And if the cat ended up in a tree, it went there for a reason. And believe it or not, that cat knows how to get up in a tree, and it's going to come down on its own. In this particular case, there was literally no way we were going to get to the cat. That thing was probably, I'll say on the low side, 35, 40 feet up.
And 100 yards from pavement.
Yeah, it was the trees on a hillside in a park. There was no way we were going to even consider, and we couldn't set up our ladder truck to get to it. Couldn't set up a big extension ladder to get to it. And we were talking to the couple, and his wife had gone out to already buy food. And it was a gentleman and his son. And we told him, like, hey, we usually do go get cats, but in this particular case, we're gonna back off, because that's the big thing is cat scared, nervous, whatever. It just wants to relax. It doesn't want to be around anyone. That's why it went 40 feet up in the air. feels like having some downtime up there. So we're going to back off, and we're going to leave the cat alone. Be awesome if we don't even look at the cat. Don't look. Nope, don't peek. Just leave the cat alone. And in this particular case, which is usually never the case, but as soon as we backed off the cat, it actually started to come down fantastically on its own pretty quick. I'd say within 10 minutes, we actually had the cat on the ground. And then I think someone was walking by with the dog, and of course the cat meow and shot right back up the tree, and it was like. But thankfully, at this point, the tourists in this case they realized that our harmless, lovable murder mittens actually was perfectly capable of navigating its genetic lineage of 100,000 million years of killing things and ambushing from the top. Was set in pretty well, and this cat was perfectly fine being left alone
in the tree.
In the tree,
yeah.
And
incidentally, on the return trip a day or two later, there's still no cat skeleton in the tree.
Yeah. The one thing I'll give anyone any advice on, and it's arguably one of the funniest things that I've ever seen on scene. Same thing, cat in a tree. This time we can set up a ladder. Firefighter goes to get the cat. Cat immediately launches out a tree like a small alien and latches onto his face. And this cat just starts to wreck him. I mean, we're talking 100 bites per second right on the face. And this cat's going to town. Of course, the firefighter's sitting there trying to navigate being in the tree, hold on to the ladder, and remove the cat from his face. And I mean, it's awesome watching this from the ground. There's multiple safety things that are about to happen here, but I'm not recording, unfortunately, because this is YouTube material right here. Yeah. And luckily, the cat got its 5 pounds of flesh off of our firefighter, and then proceeded to leap back to the tree and scurry further up the top. To no one's shock, our firefighter came down. He was thrilled and ecstatic about now having to deal with cat scratch fever. And he's bleeding profusely because, shockingly, that little tiger tore him apart. And we proceeded to quickly clear the scene after that.
Yeah. Suddenly, there's nobody else wanting to climb the ladder and get the cat. It's just almost instant.
But yeah, there's and I guarantee you, doesn't matter what town, what state, what country, you be in the middle of the Sahara and find a volunteer fire department, and there's some poor schmuck having to deal with a cat in a palm tree. Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
1,000%. And it's going to be the tallest palm tree in the most dangerous place, in the most obscure place, and it's going to be in the middle of the night, and, whatever, the guy has a cat allergy too. And it's just going to go downhill from there. Classic pitfalls with this. Of course, the community is always going to love their little furry friends, regardless of what we think of them. And it really is. It's a PR point of view. I don't really care what the hell you think of the cat. You're going to go at least try. You have to.
Yeah, one of the best cat stories that I have, pull up to the lady's house, and the cat's sitting on top of about a 30-foot telephone pole. On the very top of it, just sitting there, just looks at home, sitting in a cat-like position at the top of this 30-foot telephone pole. And, I give her the usual, oh, they'll come down, it'll be okay. And, elderly woman's crying because Mittens is on top of the telephone pole. And I really don't know what to do. We're not going to lean a ladder up on the pole. We're not, there's power lines. There's all kinds of stuff and reasons for us not to engage this cat. So I called the electric department. Called the on-call guy and said, hey, why don't you bring your bucket truck over here and get this cat down? And so he goes up the alleyway and is going to back the truck into the lady's yard. And the second that backup alarm comes on. I mean, it gets a beep and a half out, just a beep, and then half of the next beep. The cat turns, goes straight down the pole, and runs into the cat door in the house. I think that was the cat's spot. I think it had gone there a lot of times before, and this lady just had no idea that that's where the cat liked to hang out.
I'll add one more cat story because we really do. We've got about 10 other things written up there. There's an apartment complex next to one of our stations, and same thing. Lovable old lady. Her favorite cat of 37 is he's stuck on the roof of the apartment building. Well, there's this gigantic oak tree that runs right next to this building, sprawls up, and there's about 15 different branches that for a cat is like a no-brainer step. It's like 18 inches for the cat to step from the tree to the roof.
And back.
And back, yeah. So as we get up there, there's a cat, and he's literally perched up there on the peak of the house, overlooking the parking lot. Just laying there, short of having a Mai Tai and a newspaper out, he's fine. Tell her, I'm like, hey, that cat literally went up there for a reason. And we're looking around, and there's about 14 alley cats that are down there on the ground also, looking up. Not just hanging out, looking up. So Fluffy, in this case, went up there for refuge and is avoiding the predators on the ground. Well, unfortunately, this old lady, she just won't have none of it. She wants us to rescue Mittens. All right. We get the ladder set up, laying it on the building. As soon as it clangs into the gutter, that cat bolts straight to the limb, down the tree, and gets pounced on by the 14 alley cats, and then proceeds to absolutely just get tore up. I mean, there's that classic cat fight. Screaming, furs flying, limbs are coming off. And I look at that lady, and I'm like, well, cat's off the roof.
We'll see you later.
No.
Thanks for calling.
See ya. Moving down the list here, this was an incredible call. So I'm trying to think when this was. This was 4 or 5 years ago now, maybe less. We had a horse under a house. Yes, I'll say it again. We have a horse under a house. And that's how it was toned out, too. So there was a little bit of confusion on that one, and then ended up actually calling our dispatch center, and our dispatcher starts cackling and says, I don't know what to tell you. The horse is under their house. It slipped and went under their house. And we're like, you don't have like anything else that you can possibly tell us about this? And she just starts cackling and says, you'll figure it out when you get up there.
Seems like a law enforcement issue.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there was a comment about animal control, and she said, well, it's the weekend.
Yeah.
And we get up there. So what you have is a trailer house that's next to a hillside, and it had been raining a lot. And this stupid, glorious horse slipped, fell down, and then shot under and got wedged under this damn trailer. And so we get on scene, and there's actually not a lot of room to figure out, like, how to do this. Of course, we get down there, look in there, and all you see is these giant wide open eyes, nostrils flared, and it's like, oh, where's that new guy?
Yeah.
He's perfect for this. Yeah, the animal was kind of going nuts, but thankfully, I for lack of better words, calmed down. And this is, we kind of realized pretty quickly that this is one of those calls where we either call a vet and see if we can
Sedate it?
get the horse sedated, or try once retardedly to see if we can get in there and just get a strap and kind of girth the horse, get it around its neck, get in between one of the front legs, and get in between, not go to the rear. That's not going to work for anyone there. And believe it or not, the animal that wasn't flaying, freaking out, kind of, I'll say was definitely domesticated. And I give no credit to horses. I would argue they're one of the dumbest animals on the face of the earth. But I think this critter realized that it was going to be beneficial for it to just chill out. And getting near the horse under the trailer, it actually calmed down. It's when you weren't near it is when it would kind of start to thrash around. And
Yeah. So it was a people horse.
I feel very confident in saying that. And definitely took our time, went ahead and did call a vet, because that was going to take a while regardless. But got that call going. Sent one of our guys under there, and he's a horse whisperer in this case. And were you on that call?
No.
Okay.
No, it's before me.
And literally one of the tow straps off of a truck. It wasn't the scary part is it's one thing to approach the horse. It's on its side. It's not pinned weirdly under the trailer. It's on its side. Because it is just like a mudslide. It just went whoosh, right under the house. Approaching the horse at its back is fine, because you're not going to be able to get kicked to death there. But eventually you're going to have to try and figure out if you're going to pull this little stunt off on how to stick a strap under its neck, and then eventually try and reach up and over it to grab that damn strap on the other side. And what we literally ended up doing was just using a metal pole, bending it, putting a hook in it, took the tow strap with a loop, kind of hooked that on the metal pole, pushed it under the horse. And that's where I was really expecting that animal to truly lose it. And I kid you not, it actually lifted its neck up and held it up. Pipe went under it, dropped the strap. As soon as the pipe cleared, horse laid its head down, and I'm not under there. And a horse literally kind of takes this weird moment where it stretches its head out and kind of like leans its head back and looks back at the person behind it. And that's when he kind of reaches, and he does. He kept his hand and we talked about this, kept his hand up there on its side flank, get it used to being touched and held there. And once we were in that position for a while, we switched to having that pipe there. And same thing, several minutes of him just with that hand and that pipe there, getting that horse used to that. And he very slowly reached over there, and we almost pushed the loop too far. And there was a point there where he kind of had to get in really a bad pinch spot. But the horse wasn't wigging out. It was not even breathing hard. It was chilling out. So he went ahead and he took the risk, reached up there, kind of got not on top of the animal, but he did. He had to get kind of a shoulder and his face kind of up there on the front left quarter. And he reached up there, grabbed that strap. Thankfully, he one-shotted that. And he pulled it up and over. And now I mean, we're in good shape. We've got that strap around the horse, and it's gumming up under its girth, up there under that left front haunch, or whatever the heck you call the shoulder area on a horse. And we had a debate because the animal was frankly being so cooperative. Should we try and get something that's going to go around its rear legs? We thought about it and thought about it and thought about it for all of like 2 minutes. I mean, there's no reason to have this colossal debate. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. If not, stop thinking about it. And for me, it's one thing to be dealing with the front end of the horse, but those rear legs,
they hurt.
They move many more different directions, and I don't know about you, but if I'm stuck somewhere, I'd prefer to not be hitched around my groin. So I'm like, let's not deal with this. It's actually very slick. Because our guy under the trailer was having hell moving around just because of how slick it was. And I said, if we just get 10 or 15 of us out here and we pull in the right direction, I think we're going to be able to just literally slide the horse out. Yeah, that's what we ended up doing. We set up a system just to make it a little easier on us. We put a real simple pulley system in, and that was mainly so that we could keep the downward pressure on the ground, because we didn't want to pull the horse and have it roll. We wanted the pressure on the pulling direction to, if anything, to pull the horse towards the ground, because we didn't want it to, log roll and have its legs get caught up in the undercarriage of this house. We didn't get carried away with building like an 8-to-1 system. Just one pulley down low, 10 guys out in the parking lot, and just pulled. And the big thing I told him is I'm like, God, when we start moving, do not stop. I mean, unless you hear the animal absolutely wigging out, don't stop. Take that horse to the tree. Get it well clear of the house. Right about that time, the vet showed up. And we talked to the vet for half a second, and he's like, well, hell, if you've gotten that far, and he's like, the animal appears to be perfectly fine. He's like, it's shockingly doing all right. He's like, I say just get it out if it does. He said, we'll see as soon as you start to move it. That was good enough for me. We were done having the discussion. And then we took our 10 guys, each everyone grab a hand, and the guy under the trailer, he stayed with the animal. And another side thing, we did have him actually tied off in harness. Well, he had something around his waist in case we needed to jerk him out of there real quick. I won't go into the setup we had on him, but
tagline.
Yeah, we had him so he could stay with the animal. Because the last thing I wanted was for him to be remotely near the animal, slip, and get caught up under the damn thing as it immediately gets out under the trailer and starts to wig out and flop around. And yeah, so we had another system set up to jerk him out of there real quick. But yeah, the horse, to its credit, literally just shot right out from under the trailer. Kind of a weird angle. I won't say that we weren't pulling on it at the best case scenario, because at the end of the day, there was a weird kind of a backwards right angle that we were pulling the critter at. But it was more than willing to realize that it was in a tight spot.
Yeah.
And it was willing to come along for about the 15-foot ride that we gave it. To the animal's credit, it didn't even move until we took pressure off of it from pulling and relaxed. That's when our buddy walked up to it, our firefighter. He took the strap and he just kind of threw it over there in front of the horse. And then at that point, it kind of, I don't want to say rolled over, but it kind of leaned its head up, looked at him, and then from there kind of rolled over and pulled its haunches up under it. And then within 10, 15 seconds stood up.
There you go. Success.
So, yeah, one horse under a house rescued. It was, that was an interesting one.
Yeah, you write home on that one. That doesn't happen every day. Yeah, I haven't had any real crazy horse stories. You know, you get the occasional vehicle accident where there's a horse trailer and horses in the trailers, but most of the time those are, you open the gate and they get out and they're fine. You know, I've never had one upside down or anything like that. So.
Right. You ever had any other random critters in a tree before?
I've had a Rottweiler in a tree.
Rottweiler, huh?
Rottweiler. I didn't actually take the call. I was on the phone with the person that was on the call because she pulled the engine up and she immediately called me and said, "Hey, this is a Rottweiler and it's in the tree and it's about 10 feet up." And I was like, "Huh, that sounds terrible. Honk the air horn." She was like, "Do what?" I said, "Yeah, just blow the air horn. See what happens." She blew the air horn. Rottweiler barked at her, came down the tree, stood by the fence, and barked at her some more. There you go. You won. Job well done.
Yeah. I've had, as we were creating this list, I kind of started to realize, like, I've had some pretty spectacular animal calls. Everyone always gets to have random bird calls, but this next call, it was homeowner was sneaky. So we have a policy in our area where we change smoke detector batteries. Call the fire department, schedule a time, or if people are available, they'll shoot out and change the smoke detector batteries out. And this particular lady, she calls us up and says, "Hey, I need help changing out smoke detector batteries." And at the same time, you actually hear that classic chirp of a smoke detector battery go off in the background. And then you hear also a whole bunch of like caged birds kind of squawking in the background. Okay, so I get it. The stupid smoke detector batteries are going off and they're aggravating the birds. Oh, that reminds me of another call. Oh, I forgot about that. We'll have to remember
get back to that one.
And she says, "Can you please come up here and change out the smoke detector batteries? They're upsetting my birds." Well, we're obviously at the station. That's why we answered the phone. So let's go knock this one out. So we get up there to the house. It's a double wide trailer. And the lady meets us at the front door. And she thanks us for coming out. And she says, "I've also got another thing I was going to ask you to help me with." I'm like, "Okay, what's that?" She's like, "I've got a parrot that I need to get back into the cage." Okay. And not a problem. Well, you'll have to talk us through it. None of us are bird people. And she's like, "Oh, it's not a big deal. All we have to do is we need to wear this specific type of glove because it's going to land on your arm. We'll give you some food and we'll bring the bird in." Okay, that's fine. So the second we walk in the door, and I don't know if anyone's ever been to a birdhouse before, but this is a birdhouse. It smells like birds. There's birds. There's birds everywhere. We hear the one smoke detector in the living room that's going off, and offer to go change that one real quick. And she's like, "Yeah, that'd probably be a good one to change. That's the one that's making all the noise." But she said, "Let me look for something real quick." And she literally walks back into her house and she looks up and down the hallway. And then looks back at us and she's like, "Yeah, it's okay. Come on in." Well, that's kind of an odd thing. So now I'm trying to remember how many people I have. I think there's 4 of us. There might be 3 of us. It's me and two young guys for sure. At least there's two guys I remember specifically off of this call. And we get up there. We have a little giant, set it up, start pulling the smoke detector down. And then you can hear this pterodactyl coming down the hallway. And it comes swooping through the living room and goes crash landing into the other side of the living room. It was a unique parrot. Had a white head, yellow beak, brown body, about 5 feet tall, and was wearing an American flag cloak and had sunglasses on. Turns out she was a falconer.
Yeah.
And she had a very unique parrot that was big and bald and had very sharp talons.
Very majestic.
Yeah, had an American flag tattoo on it. This thing was huge. And my guy on the ladder, I didn't even see him like dive off the ladder. He did. He went flying off the ladder into the lady's couch. I mean, he bailed out of there, got out. We kind of all stopped and look at her, and she's like, "Yeah, that's my parrot." Okay. That's is that the parrot you need help getting back in its cage? And she's like, "Yeah." Well, let's get the smoke detector batteries done first. So the parrot is now, like I said, it crashed over into the living room / kitchen area of the house, and it's standing on the table. And I swear to God, it's staring at us, and it's very impatiently tapping its claw into the wood, like carving our names into the wood, figuring out its plan of destruction, as such patriotic symbols are usually capable of. And the other birds in the house magically shut up the second that the parrot shows up. It was kind of weird how that happened. It was weird.
They don't like being food.
Yeah. And so we finally managed to tell the guy that's now trying to get back on the ladder, and I'm armed with a broom and a bed sheet, to hurry up and stop taking so long, because you're aggravating our parrot. And you're on your own, because I will close the door on you and leave you to your own devices in there. I've seen that documentary, Jurassic Park. I know what happens.
Yeah.
And so we get the smoke detector battery changed. And this lady gives us our gear for helping to capture the parrot. And she pulls out, not welding gloves, but like a B-52 welder's glove. The glove actually like protects your jugular, and it's heavily padded and armored. And
AR-500 still plate.
Yeah, and she gives me, I don't know why, one of the gloves, and I think like half of a dead whatever roadkill was in the neighborhood, and she's also got the same setup, and thankfully the parrot, after a few minutes of deciding to not kill all of us and take our oil, decided to go to her. And then from there, she walked back to the back bedroom where the parrot was staying at. And she was able to close the vault door and turn the electric fence back on. So that was an unusual bird call. We proceeded to then change the rest of the smoke detectors around the house.
And your underwear.
Yes. And didn't take any souvenirs, because that would be a federal crime. And proceeded to...
Unless you're native.
Yeah. And proceeded to do everything to forget that call as we possibly could. All seriousness, know that lady is a falconer. And supposedly, I don't work for Division Wildlife, has the paperwork to have that bird. Till we show up in court one day, as far as I know, that's a parrot.
Yeah, it's a parrot that, can hunt cattle.
Right.
Yeah.
going down the list, I had a really weird one. If you've ever seen the movie, I think it's Snatch, there's a dog in that movie that swallowed a chew toy, and it ends up squeaking anytime that the dog doesn't choke to death on the toy, it starts squeaking. Well, we had the exact same call. It was a big, smiley, happy-go-lucky, stupid pit bull that was nothing but a 60-pound lap dog. The stupid thing had eaten a squeaky toy, and it was stuck in its throat. And any time that you did anything, like if the dog roughed or barked or did anything, it'd look at you and then squeak like a squeaky toy. So we got called to that. That was an automatic go see the vet. There's not much we're going to be able to do on that.
EMS, that's an EMS problem.
Yeah, law enforcement.
Yeah, totally.
Then looking down our list, of course, you have your random bird attacks on scenes. You have a nesting bird and they start dive bombing you. And I've also seen guys get attacked by geese. You have to run and take cover from a goose. And if you've ever been attacked by a goose, you realize that it's actually not funny. Because they're going to do their best to tear you up with their very soft beak and proceed to be an absolute nuisance. And it's one of those things where you can't punt them across the parking lot. You just get to be like everyone else and run away.
Yeah. Now, ducks are amazing guard dogs. They really are. Ducks, geese, guineas, all that stuff. Where I'm from, there was a lot of emus. Emus were real prevalent back in the 90s.
Yeah, that'd be a little different tangoing with that.
Yeah, you'd go to a grass fire and there'd just be a flock of emus there that you're trying to figure out how you're not going to. I mean, that turkey leaves a bigger dent. Yeah, you can't hit those things. And if they turn on you, they can, stab halfway through your face.
Yeah. That'd be a hell of a thing to have on the old gravestone, stomped to death by an emu.
Yeah. At least it could be an ostrich. I mean, you can make boots out of that. Emu's not really good for anything.
Let's see. I'm looking at my list. I've got one of the strangest car accidents that I've ever responded to on here. So in our town, we have a public beach area, and there's always in the fall a lot of the migrating birds that come in there. And there's a pretty consistent theme of geese that roam around on our beach and in our parks. Canadian geese.
It's the same Canadians that come down and, work in the hospitals as nurses all winter long and then go back to Canada or Kanukistan, whichever you're looking for. Yeah, it's snowbirds. Same thing.
It's the same thing. And so what we have is this is a 30-mile-per-hour zone. A work truck stops to let a goose and its goose family cross the road. And the car behind the truck, I think there was a 3-vehicle accident now that I think about it. Truck stops, second car stops, third car doesn't stop. He's not paying attention. He's not there. And he rear ends the car in front of me. Well, we get on scene, and what we think is happening is the individual's having some sort of medical emergency. He's just laying in the seat. He's a bigger gentleman. Eyes are open. Heart rate's normal. Breathing's normal. But he's not saying anything. It's me and a paramedic. As we start working on the patient, my paramedic is just completely whiffed, has no idea what on earth is going on. Looking at the front end damage of the vehicle, it's exceedingly beyond light. The front bumper on his car had like a small downward dent in it from hitting the trailer hitch. And also the front emblem of the car was cracked out of the grill. But there was no penetration into the radiator and pushing the engine back or anything like that. It was a pretty standard 30-mile-per-hour impact. And just as we're getting ready to get this gentleman out of the vehicle, I just happened to glance at the windshield. And I can see kind of now at the angle that I'm at that there's a slight forehead smudge and a very slight vertical crack in the windshield. And I'm right in the process of turning to my paramedic and saying, I think he broke his neck. And the gentleman says, very monotone, very flat, I can hear you. And it's like, whoa, coming out of what we were just at. Of course, the paramedic kind of looks at me, and I'm like, I don't know. He asked the guy, some pretty basic neurological injuries. Where you at? Time, date. Can you move your limbs? Who's president? Guy's 100% guaranteed broken neck. And the tragedy that comes out of this is that he ended up dying on the way to the hospital. He had a C1, C2 break. And all of that from a goose crossing a road. That was nuts. One of the strangest car accidents I've ever seen with the end result that it had. Kind of going down more of a serious line item. And again, not only is it story time, but there's certain things that I think we ought to maybe throw out there from our local perspective and just experiences. If you ever show up to an accident that does involve an animal, okay, it may involve an animal like a dog got run over, cat got run over, sometimes a lot worse. You get cattle, horses. Jesse, what's your guys' experience when you show up and you have an animal that's significantly injured in an accident?
So, any injured animal, and especially the biting kind, the dogs, the cats, the coyote, whatever, those critters, you just can't go touch them. If it's a horse, cow, deer, something like that that's not the biting kind, and it can't get up on its own power, chances are it's never going to get up. And even if you get it up, it's not going to make it anyway. And our experience is you call the ATF because they're good at dispatching certain animals. But no, there's just not much. The risk is not worth the reward in that stuff. I mean, it's just like the firefighter up in the tree with the cat, and he gives his pint to the cat. I've saw randomly years ago, before I was even involved in the fire service or anything, I saw a dog get hit on the road, and a bystander goes over there to try to help get the dog out of the road, and it's injured in the back half of it, so the front biting half of it still works, and it's memory. It's a pit bullish type dog, and so the guy reaches down to help this dog up out of the road, and the dog immediately latches onto his arm, and that guy rides an ambulance to the hospital because it's firmly attached at that point. And until the dog actually perished, while the guy's waiting for the ambulance that I called for him, the dog was holding on and not letting go. And that to me was kind of the indicator, hey, don't do that. That's a bad idea. It did not work out good for that guy at all.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's that for certain people, I'm not an animal lover. A lot of people are. I get it. But it sucks, and I'm not saying that that's not stressful or difficult for certain people, particularly if they're personal pets. But for the love of God, don't get tore up, killed, stomped to death, bitten in half, because of our concern of the humanity for our critters. Car accidents, versus cows, horses, what any other livestock. If that animal's broke up and down, we need to get it to end its misery and its suffering. I don't know what all the department's policies are out there. I'm a big fan. If it's daytime, call in animal control or PD or SO and
Parks and Wildlife.
yeah, Parks and Wildlife, and put the animal down sooner than later. Now, beings that we're an actual, I do anymore consider us a city department. I'm sure as hell not going to tell my guys to pull out their 45 and shoot an animal on a major highway in a Walmart parking lot. We'll call a vet in, call PD in, we'll call animal control in. But if you're out in the county, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you've got a cow that's got, broke back, broke pelvis, broke legs, and it's ballering on the ground, we need to get that animal taken care of too. And let's get SO out there, and they'll be able to help put the animal down. Because you're not going to be able to get a vet out there in time. It'll take 4 or 5 hours to get a vet out there, and you can have a deputy. And they all of our local law enforcement, they have policies on this, and put the animal down.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty standard across the board on all that stuff. They're just not going to let it suffer one and be a hazard to other people, be the other side of that, because if it drags its half-working carcass back into the roadway or something like that, it's more of a hazard for it to be there.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just kind of a tip for people. Just sometimes you're not going to be able to do anything about it right there. I'm going to be really blunt about this from a chief's perspective. People first. Animals are a far distant number 4 or 5 on that list. People first. Now, I understand if you're showing up for an animal rescue, can't just sit there and, put a plastic bag over the animal's head and then hold your hands around its neck until it expires. That's not the route to take there.
Even if you keep a pillow in the truck.
Right. But it's people first, period. And obviously the animal needs to be taken care of and addressed and humanely put down if possible. But it's people first, every single time, and always will be that way.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, it literally has to be. I've seen some horrific incidents with animals. I've seen a dog run into the burning building, and I'm literally watching it go into Dante's Inferno, and hearing the screams of the homeowner wanting you to do something. Well, there's nothing that you're gonna do. That decision that was made by that animal, for whatever reason, was an ultimate decision, and there's no fixing it. We can't make that situation better. And don't put yourself in a position where you're risking a little to save a little kind of deal.
Our department, we have the classic, pet oxygen mask, and there's been a handful of dogs and cats that we've actually pulled out of structures, and I mean, I can't believe it. The damn thing lived. Yeah. We've got a resident dog CPR expert, and that guy has no problem getting down there and doing the good work on a critter, and I have seen him work on a handful of animals we've pulled out of buildings before, and he's been able to bring them back. Now, what was the long-term story on that animal? I have no clue, but when we left, they were alive, so we're gonna chalk that one up to a save.
I'm old enough, though, I watched the movie Pet Sematary, so I'm not sure it's a great idea.
Yeah. Kind of along that line of the animals running back into a building. I was on this might be something that's a little more unique to Texas, but it actually is a thing, and it is a factor that you have to take into consideration. When you have a large wildland fire, and I've personally seen this before. Been in a bad spot, tight spot, and be in front of a fire, and the fire's coming to you, and you see the critters running out of the fire, and they're on fire, and they're running faster than the fire can overtake them, and the little furry soon-to-be dead animals are catching everything else on fire in front of the fire. And that's a legitimate problem.
Yeah, they're a drip torch with legs.
Yeah. And what we've done on one fire is we knew a fire was coming into an area, and we loaded up our local ranchers with their 22s into the back of brush trucks, and went in front of the fire and started to shoot the rabbits that were running out of the fire across the fire line and into the area we're trying to protect, and shoot the rabbits as they're coming out into the fire line.
Yeah, into the unburned.
Unburned.
That's a pretty common thing, and I've heard lots of stories through the years of that, and I've seen it. I've seen the animals do that. It's a serious thing that you do have to consider.
Yeah. One thing we're going to give quick acknowledgments to is that we've actually recorded a series of podcasts before we ever published our first one, and we were kind of looking at the analytics and shocked that there's a handful of you guys, if you're ever still listening in Seattle. You guys in Seattle probably never had to shoot a burning rabbit.
No, probably not. That's probably not a thing there.
That's
But if you're in Texas and even more that West Texas area, you get out into the real shrub brush. I mean, that a flaming jackrabbit's a gasoline on legs kind of situation.
Yeah, and then at least the stupid thing can run at about 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm not truly trying to make light of the poor animals suffering, but that significantly reduces our odds of the effectiveness of that fire line by having all the animals scurrying off into the unburned area, and you have to address it, because the stupid rabbit's going to keep running until either the fire's out or it is consumed by the fire that it is spreading. It's unique, it's weird, and it's a problem that is in Texas.
Yeah. And not only that, if you've got the pier and beam house or the trailer house or something that's up off the ground and the house is on fire, don't be surprised if a big old rooter skunk comes barreling out from underneath there, or something of that nature.
I have seen that before.
Yeah, it happens.
I have seen that before. Be on a structure fire and have a skunk absolutely wake up, and I mean Kung Fu Panda roll out of there and breaking it for town, because while he was taking his midday nap, he didn't realize the house on fire and was on top. And hell, I guess for whatever reason in the world, he slept through everyone showing up and all the noise we were making. But by the time he realized that he needed a new accommodations, he was coming out.
Yeah, and if you're there standing in the yard, yeah, guess what? You stink now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to shoot him with water and get him away from you.
Yeah.
Shoot him across the yard towards the command post.
Yeah, absolutely, towards command or law enforcement by the fire hydrant.
Right.
Yeah, because that's where they're at. But yeah, just crazy stuff like that. I went to a middle school one day for a goat in a storm sewer.
Oh, God.
So at the middle school, there's a goat in the storm sewer. There's the grate on the ground. You look down there, there's a goat. Huh, that's interesting. Well, we'll figure out what we're going to do.
Wait, he's not in the grade? He's in the actual sewer?
He's in the sewer, below grade. Subterranean goats. I think that's maybe some, South American breed of goat.
Right.
Subterranean, but...
The log climber?
Yeah, instead of going up the mountain, they go into the cave or whatever. So we're scratching our heads, and this is in the middle of a parking lot, and there's some goats in a field, in a pasture that's 300, 400, 500 yards away, and that's kind of weird. How did this goat end up here? So we're we go get some tools, and we're going to take the grate off and see if we can fish the goat out. And it's got pipes leading in and out of this box where this grate is, so there's a couple different directions. And so we leave the white goat in the deal underneath the ground, go to the truck, get some tools, come back, and there's a brown goat. So now we're trying to scratch our heads and figure out where the hair dye came from, but finally realized there's a couple of goats. There's more than one, at least two. All right, something's awry here. We've got to figure this out. Well, the end of this drainage went into the field where the goats were, and it had a fence around it to keep the goats out. Well, the goats pushed a hole through the fence and went to the far end, and were in the storm drain. So then it's, how many goats are in here? How do you get these goats out? Obviously, bringing them out the hole that at this end is one at a time is a terrible idea, because
Right.
we'll never find them all. So I think what we ended up doing, if memory serves me, is we went to the farthest end of the drainage where the pipe was not big enough for a goat to go through, and dropped a 2.5 down it and started flushing and pushed the goats out back into the field, and the rancher fixed the fence to keep the goats getting into the storm sewer. But that was very interesting.
Yeah, that's different. We had a tornado hit our area, and big tornado. Thankfully, it wasn't on the ground for too long, but it did a lot of damage. It was an EF4. Killed some people, and we were out there the next day for the tornado. And with this tornado, we were out there the next day, and we were still doing a victim search. And one of the things that we were stumbling into was a animal problem. I very specifically remember a gigantic oak tree that had a massive amount of crap just blown into it, debris crushed around it. There's cars, houses, roofs, massive amount of stuff there. And under all this pile of crap, there was a dog barking. And it wasn't a painful bark. It was like, hey, I'm down here. You need to get me
I want
bark.
my kibble.
Yeah. And so we ended up spending quite a while with this dog, as we continue to pull crap out, because we're trying to figure out how the hell this damn thing's alive, because there's a absolute tangled mess of hell around this tree. And as we start pulling crap out and getting trucks over there and winches, and we keep pulling and keep pulling and keep pulling, and this dog he's becoming more and more excited. And finally, we get to a doghouse that had been completely smashed and destroyed by a car. But under this doghouse is a hole that the dog had dug in front of his doghouse. He dug a hole under his doghouse. We couldn't get to... there was debris and metal and crap. Couldn't get that moved to get the hole exposed. So what we did is we just tore the doghouse floor up. And we're talking about, like, the first sliver that came up was, God, I swear to God, it wasn't 3 inches wide. And like a 300-pound German Shepherd head comes sticking through that hole. Scared the crap out of me. And that dog, like, takes this giant relieving gasp of air as he sticks his head through there. And thankfully, he wasn't related to Cujo. And we end up, like, taking, like, 8 of us to push his head back down through the hole, get him back down there, and then finish ripping the floor out of the doghouse. And here we are with literally, like, a 220-pound German Shepherd now.
World's happiest dog.
Oh, yeah, no, that dog, he was excited to be out of that hole. Gave him a bunch of water, and basically we just turned him loose, because what the hell are we going to do with him right now? And he stayed with us the rest of the day. The success story at the end of that is they were starting to let in some of the residents from that area, and we had this lady run up to us, and the second that dog heard that woman's voice, gone.
Yep.
He went straight to her. So there was no questions about who owned the dog. So that was kind of awesome.
Yeah, no, that's one of those good stories.
But there was, after the tornado, we had to deal with a lot of critters, pets, dogs, one snake, nope. Someone else dealt with a snake.
It's actually called a nope rope.
Yeah. Danger noodle.
Yes, yes.
Oddly enough, that python stayed in that debris of that house. It, I guess, was confused also because it was completely out of its cage. But the only saving grace in that is that snake had kind of perched itself up where it could sun itself. And it was all roped out and laid out. It was about 6 feet long, laying out there. Animal control came in for that one. Bunch of cats, dogs, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I've got a reptile story that's one of those stories that one of the very first calls I ever ran when I was a rookie was an iguana in a tree.
Well, that sounds
like
terrible.
It was at home. Yeah,
Okay.
like that's where they should be, I think. I'm not a biologist or a reptologist or any kind of real ologist, but I thought, seems like where it should be. Well, the children that had this dragon of an iguana that was probably 4 feet, they wanted it back at their house. So I'm the rookie. They lean a ladder up on this tree and tell me, you should probably put your coat and gloves on. Okay, I'll do that. And I scamper up the tree and I grab this thing by the body, and that was the part that was all right. That body part didn't do any problems. The tail beat the immoral crap out of me all the way down the tree to the ground. I'm laying on top of it trying to get it to stop, and the kids are just, freaking out. You're going to kill it. I didn't see it that way. It was going to kill me. And finally somebody grabs the tail and we get a hold of it and here, take this. We don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take Izzy.
Yeah. No, the tail is strong. It is insanely strong.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how they actually defend themselves.
Yeah, it was defending itself. I meant it no harm. I really didn't want to even touch it, but I got the brunt end of the back end of an iguana that was really, really not happy about it. He liked the tree. Just build a cage around the tree. That would have been way easier.
Right. Yeah, throw a dead chicken or something on the ground and come down and eat it. 'Cause
Yeah.
again, it's a velociraptor.
Yeah. So where are we at?
Well, I was glancing at our list here. That pretty much is all the weird animal calls. I was trying to remember when I was talking about the parrot. It reminded me, smoke investigation call on an alarm. Okay, big house, expensive house. Walk inside. Just doing a standard investigation. Homeowner lets us in through a Ring doorbell. They say no one's home. Okay. Start walking through the house. And behind me, walk into a room and behind me, and literally someone, because we try and keep the podcast clean, this scratchy male's voice is just, tears into me. He is calling me everything upside and down. Well, the jump factor in this is I'm supposed to be alone. And I turn around, and it is this gigantic white cockatoo that knows how to talk. And, that bird is reading me the fifth right because he doesn't know me, and he has a problem with me. And that bird is wigging out. A little bit later, the homeowner shows up, and I tell him about that bird, and he's like, oh, yeah, God. He's like, I forgot about that thing. He said, it's also incredibly vulgar. I'm like, well, learned that somewhere. Yeah, that bird scared the hell out of me, though.
That bird was George Carlin's biggest fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the animal calls is fun and is unique, and as many stupid stories as you're going to have come off of them. That's like premium PR too, though. You got to be that's a call. You don't screw up on any call, but that's a call that is invaluable in its PR weight. You're expected to show up for fires, and alarms, and car accidents, and other random means of help, but going and getting murder mittens out of a tree, or the danger noodles stuck in, I don't know, whatever the hell he's stuck in, or getting him out of the house, okay, for someone, or rescuing someone else's favorite critter, is just an ungodly, invaluable PR for your organization. And at the end of the day, you're going to get one hell of a story to come out of the backside of that.
Yeah, and even if you don't do what we're doing and share them with the world, if you're just sharing them with the buddies at the firehouse and all that, it's worth the camaraderie of the experience.
Right. Because, again, how many people get to have a horse under a house?
That's new to me. I've never heard of that even being a thing.
Or, if you're in the Pacific Northwest or the Northeast and having to shoot rabbits in front of a wildfire. There's stories to be had. There's stories to be told. I guarantee you everyone's got them. I think this is probably a good place to start wrapping up. And now that we actually have a website, if any of you guys our website email, we'll work on the website thing. But anyone's got a good story to share, please send it to our email, and we'll go through them and talk about them. And the email is ittasteslikeburningcast @gmail.com.
It's in the description.
Yeah, check out the description.
While you're checking out that description, drop down there, leave us a review, tell us how terrible it is, give us 1 star, give us 5 stars. It's really this is fun for us, and we're doing it for the fun of it. And I hope there's people out there that are going, those stories are lame. You've got to hear this one.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it's about. So.
And if you ever have like any specific topic that you want to hear how stupid and wrong we are, and should never follow any opinions on, by all means, drop in a line, let us know, because we'll always take a discussion piece and have a modicum of a debate on it.
Absolutely.
Past that, you got anything else, Jesse?
I'm good.
All right. Well, it tastes like burning, and we're out this time.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you.